back to the channel. Today we're going to unravel some incredibly complex events in Genoa. Rumors are circulating around the Newman family, but what's the truth? In this video, I'll summarize the plot points that will be revealed in the next episode. Stay tuned to see what happens.
Welcome back to our channel, Soap Squad. Today is an absolutely beautiful day to dive deep into the madness of Genoa City. And oh boy, do we have a massive amount of drama to unpack. Grab your coffee, tea, or whatever gets you through the chaos, because we need to talk about the absolute insanity that just went down on our screens. Let's get right into it. I cannot breathe. I am literally typing this at 2 in the morning because my brain is buzzing so hard and I need to get this out of my system before I spontaneously combust. Are you kidding me right now? I cannot believe they actually went there and pulled the trigger on this massive twist. I mean, we all kind of suspected it, right? We all had that nagging, terrifying feeling in the back of our minds for weeks. But seeing it actually play out on screen was an entirely different level of pure, unadulterated soap opera gold. And Traci freaking Abbott is the MVP of this entire show. Period. End of sentence. I am so incredibly fired up about what just happened with Dr. Markham and Diane. But wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me just take a deep breath. Okay, back to the point. So, let's talk about Diane Jenkins being held captive in that creepy, isolated location. For weeks, we've been watching this Dr. Lawrence Markham play his sick, twisted little mind games with her. He's been acting like this overly attentive, deeply unsettling therapist who is just trying to help her through a mental breakdown that we all know she isn't actually having. And the whole time, the vibes have been absolutely rancid. I mean, the guy practically oozes malice beneath that calm, clinical exterior. Because let's be real, no legitimate psychiatrist locks their patient in a remote house with barred windows, forces them to eat snacks, and threatens them with other methods of treatment if they don't comply. It was giving major psychological horror movie energy. But the true identity of this guy, that was the real mystery keeping me up at night. Enter Traci Abbott, my absolute queen. The peacemaker of the Abbott family who usually just bakes cookies, writes her novels, and tries to get Jack to stop fighting with Victor. But not today. Traci has been through absolute hell recently. Remember when that psychopath Martin Laurent masqueraded as his twin brother, Dr. Alan Laurent, and completely mindfucked Traci? Yeah, she hasn't forgotten either. The trauma of being manipulated by a man she thought she loved, a man she trusted completely, left a deep, dark scar on her soul. And that is exactly why she is the only person in Genoa City with enough functioning brain cells and emotional intelligence to see through this current charade. Because when Traci looked into Dr. Markham's eyes previously, she saw something terrifyingly familiar. She saw the abyss. She saw Martin. I'm sorry, but can we just take a moment to appreciate the sheer, unadulterated bravery of Traci going to this isolated location to confront him directly? I mean, where is the Abbott security? We all know they are notoriously useless and have failed this family a million times. But Traci marching into the lion's den armed with nothing but her intuition and a few clues is both the most badass and the most terrifying thing she has ever done. I was screaming at my screen, Traci, get out of there. Call Paul Williams, call the GCPD. But no, she stood her ground. Because Traci is done being a victim. She is done letting manipulative psychopaths terrorize her family. And the way she laid out the evidence, it was an absolute masterclass in confrontation. Let's break down the clues, because the writers actually did a phenomenal job planting these Easter eggs over the last few episodes. Traci didn't just walk in with wild, baseless accusations, she came with absolute receipts. She brought up the specific books by Alan Laurent that were just casually sitting on Markham's bookshelf. Like, who does that? If you're going to fake a new identity and run a covert kidnapping operation, maybe don't keep your twin brother's published works on display in the house where you are holding a hostage. And then, the ultimate kicker, the Gemini zodiac sign. The twins, it was so poetic and so deeply twisted. Traci connected the dots, looking him dead in the eye, and basically said, "I know who you are. I know what you are." And then the mask finally slipped. The transition from the calm, collected Dr. Lawrence Markham to the unhinged, psychopathic Martin Lawrence was chilling to the bone. You could literally see the shift in his body language. The fake clinical posture melted away, replaced by this predatory, arrogant slouch. His voice changed. The terrifying glint in his eye that Traci had noticed before completely took over his face. He lost his cool because Traci, the woman he probably thought was just a naive, soft-hearted novelist, completely outsmarted him. He couldn't handle that she saw right through his brilliant, meticulously crafted disguise. He admitted Martin Lawrence is officially back, baby. He dropped the act entirely and started mocking Traci. He mocked her sharpness, he mocked her past trauma, and he reveled in his own twisted brilliance. I was literally shaking with rage and excitement while watching it. Because Martin is one of those villains you just love to hate. He has no redeeming qualities whatsoever. He's pure, unadulterated evil. And the sheer audacity to disguise himself as another doctor, manipulate the legal system to get Patty Williams released, and then orchestrate this elaborate kidnapping of Diane just to torture the Abbotts. It is diabolical on a level we haven't seen in years. But wait, we have to talk about Diane's perspective in all of this. Diane was locked nearby, listening to and watching this entire confrontation unfold from the shadows. Imagine the sheer, unadulterated horror coursing through her veins in that exact moment. She thought she was dealing with a corrupt, perverted doctor who was maybe hired by Patty Williams or Victor Newman to keep her out of the way. But to realize that her captor is actually Martin Lawrence, a man with a known history of extreme psychological torture, kidnapping, and violence, Diane was absolutely stunned. You could literally see the blood drain from her face. The realization that she is trapped in a remote location with a literal monster who has a deeply personal vendetta against her family is horrifying. Now, I know I complain about Diane a lot. I mean, I've been watching since 2015, but I know my why and our history inside and out. Remember when Diane faked her own death in 2011? She let Jack and Kyle mourn her for a decade. She let Nikki Newman take the fall for murder. Diane is no saint, and she has done some incredibly toxic things. Sometimes I contradict myself because, on one hand, I feel like Diane deserves a little bit of karma for all the pain she has caused over the years. Like, maybe being locked in a room for a few days will teach her some much-needed humility. But on the other hand, nitrogen monoxide one deserves to be held captive by Martin Lawrence. The sheer terror she must be feeling right now actually makes me feel so bad for her. I'm figuring out my thoughts as I type this, but seeing Diane's terrified, helpless reaction made her incredibly human to me. Am I the only one who thinks this is the best storyline Traci has had in years? Usually, they just bring Traci in to pour coffee, offer a sympathetic shoulder, and tell Jack to calm down when he's throwing a tantrum. But giving her this proactive, fierce detective role where she uses her own past trauma to save the day, it is brilliant writing. I know some people are loving the corporate takeover stuff with Victor and Phyllis, but personally, this psychological thriller plot is what keeps me glued to the screen every single day. Traci facing her abuser, looking him in the eye, and stripping away his power by naming him. It was empowering. It was everything I ever wanted for her character. So, what does this mean for the rest of the canvas? Jack is currently running around Genoa City, playing a highly dangerous game of cat and mouse with Patty Williams. He is literally pretending to be romantically interested in the woman who stabbed him and drugged him, just to get information. And Kyle. Kyle is going rogue, making secret, desperate deals with Patty to take down Victor Newman. Neither of them has any idea that Diane is actually in the clutches of Martin Lawrence. They think they are dealing with a simple kidnapping, maybe orchestrated by Victor or Patty. They have absolutely no clue about the level of psychopathy they are actually up against. And let's talk about Martin's endgame here. Why Diane? Is he just using her to hurt Jack and Traci? Or is there a deeper, darker motive at play? We know Martin hates his brother Alan, and he hates anyone who ever made him feel inferior. Traci rejected him when she found out the truth about his identity. The Abbotts represent everything Martin despises: wealth, family unity, and unconditional love. By taking Diane, he strikes at the very heart of the Abbott family. I am dreading what he might do to her now that his cover is completely blown. Because a cornered psychopath is the most dangerous kind of predator. If Martin knows that Traci knows his true identity, he can't just let Traci walk out of there, right? Is Traci going to become a hostage too? Oh my God, if Martin locks Traci and Diane in that house together, the dynamic would be insane. The woman who hates Diane and the woman who is married to her brother, forced to team up to survive a serial manipulator? I am so here for it, but I am also terrified for Traci's safety. She walked in there alone. She played her hand brilliantly. But what is her escape plan? She didn't bring backup, and Martin is physically dangerous. I swear, if Jack doesn't figure this out soon and get to that isolated cabin, I am going to throw my remote at the television. Jack needs to stop playing footsie with Patty Williams and realize that his sister and his wife are in mortal danger right this second. And Victor Newman. Victor probably thinks he is so incredibly smart, funding Patty and watching the Abbott squirm from his high horse. But I bet even Victor doesn't know that Dr. Markham is actually Martin Laurent. Victor likes to be in control of every piece on the chessboard, but Martin is a wild card. You can't control a rabid dog, and Victor is going to learn that the hard way. This whole situation also makes me wonder how Patty ties into Martin's grand scheme. Patty thinks she is running the show. She thinks she is the mastermind holding the cards, manipulating Jack into loving her. But Martin is a master manipulator. Is it possible that Martin is actually the one pulling Patty's strings? Did he manipulate her fragile mental state to use her as a distraction while he went after Traci and Diane? It would make perfect sense. Martin is using Patty as a shield, and she is too delusional to see it. Ultimately, this episode was an absolute masterpiece of tension and drama. The slow build, the confrontation, the dropping of the clues, and that final, horrifying reveal of Martin's true face. It was soap opera perfection from start to finish. I am going to be thinking about Traci's brave face and Diane's stunned horror all week long. They better not drag this out too long, but knowing White and R, we are in for a long, agonizing rescue mission that will take weeks to resolve. I just hope Traci makes it out of there unscathed, because if Martin lays a single hand on her, I am rioting in the streets. What a night, what an episode. I need to go calm down and maybe drink some water before I have a literal heart attack over these fictional characters. I am so invested in this show it is actually unhealthy, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Let me know what you guys thought of the reveal, because my mind is completely blown.